Yeah, but no trees out there.
So there's a little bit of sinking in the driveway up near the curb. It's usually an indication of a tree that was removed, and there would have been a tree or a root.
In the asphalt?
No, not at the asphalt, just at the foot of your driveway, right before the sidewalk.
Oh, close to the
Yeah,
sidewalk.
where the driveway has sunk down a little bit there.
Yeah, no, just
Cracked.
construction.
Yeah, it's.
Oh. Yeah,
settlement.
okay.
If there wasn't a tree there, it just due to settlement.
Yeah. I've pulled roots underneath the sidewalks myself.
Something to watch.
Okay.
If it does become, starts to sink more, then it's obviously something you need to be concerned about. Settlement happens. Every home is going to settle in the first year of a home's life. It's expected to settle 6 inches throughout the entire home.
That much, huh?
That much, yeah.
Wow.
That's why when we were talking about the ground cover, the ground is so disturbed when construction happens that they expect 6 inches.
I guarantee it wasn't disturbed, and I'll run it down if it becomes an issue, but
I told you, it's not a concern that I'm worried with.
Yeah, you should see my.
So we have something that we call an intentional trip hazard. This is a walking surface that's architecturally designed, yet causes areas that people could trip on. Spaced pavers, sometimes brick pavers that have really large texture to them. The most obvious one is this beautiful walkway right out front where they have the large slabs. There's gaps between the slabs that are greater than 3/8 of an inch. 3/8 of an inch is the 3/8 of an inch is what calls it makes the difference between a tripping hazard and not one. So in the report, it's going to say an intentional trip hazard. I have to say that because we all have to legally cover.
But it's also
our lots.
called a look.
It's called a look, yes, and I'm not telling you to do anything.
The
with
space
it.
we
between.
don't wear high heels around here.
Exactly. And I'm just informing you that it's there.
Yeah.
Okay.
Really, the only purpose
Yeah.
of it. The home is seismically braced, meaning that the walls on the perimeter are bolted to the foundation itself.
Okay.
There was only one spot on the outside that I found a problem of any sort. The outside is in great condition. Outside of this, what was it called, in the bar area?
Yeah.
The
The
trim
party
piece,
room.
The trim
That's
across
right.
the bottom is deteriorated.
On this side of the fence, in the backyard, or
No, in the little side yard.
in the
area.
front?
Yeah.
In the side yard,
Yeah.
he said.
So.
Side yard, right
Oh,
over
so
here,
you're just talking about
adjacent
fascia.
to the
Yeah,
bar.
the first window
That's
by
just
the bar.
the horizontal fascia on
It's
the
just a
bottom of
trim
the
piece, yeah.
of the
One by
siding.
four.
Yeah.
So things to know about your
Is that
siding.
wood or?
It is wood.
Okay. So,
Your siding is a compressed fiberboard.
Yeah.
So compressed fiberboard is very susceptible to water. So it's really important that you keep your home painted.
Yeah.
Annual maintenance, fresh paint every 7 years should be your goal. But
Yeah.
annual maintenance, caulk and paint, those things are going to save the outside of your home. If water gets into there, it'll cause it to swell, and it doesn't necessarily cause it to fail, but it does cause it to swell. So, in the electrical box, the panel itself, nothing too big. There is a couple of small issues. There is one slot. Looks like either there was some planning done and they decided not to put a breaker there, or there was a breaker removed and there's an open slot in the panel face. That's a hazard because if you were to stick your tongue far enough in there, you would find electricity.
Can you just put one of
Jeez.
those little
You
block
can
off
get
plate
one of
things in
those
there?
49-cent plaques
Yeah.
and put it in there.
Can't do a little electrical tape over
You
it?
can't just put electrical tape over it. No.
They make a little metal.
Yeah.
Yeah.
They
Oh
make
my
a-
God.
They make it's 49 cents and it just
You're
snaps.
scaring me.
Yeah.
You're scaring
Put your
me.
finger in there.
Don't stick your finger in there.
Yeah.
That's the key. And I try to make light of it because I know it's a small item, but the wrong person could stick their hand in there.
If you had children, maybe, or
Yeah.
something.
Well, hopefully they don't get access to that
Yeah.
ever. But yes, that's absolutely the reason. And sometimes I've been called a child too. On the inside of the panel, it looks like they added a couple of circuits or tapped in, and they ran out of lugs on the neutral bus. Are you familiar with what I'm saying?
I know
Yes.
exactly what
So
you're talking
at
about.
2 points on the bus, they doubled up the neutrals in the lug. Lugs are only rated for So in this situation,
Oh.
there are two options that are one of which is extremely simple. You come out of the lug with one wire, and then you wire nut it into two.
Uh-huh.
But the lug itself is only rated for
Okay.
one wire.
But you're,
Whether this is an issue to you is up to you.
yeah. It's not an issue to me right now.
If it were at my house, we'd probably just ride with it.
Yeah. I still got some knob and tube in my house. I do. No neutrals. I mean, yeah. We don't even have them.
There's a junction box in the attic.
Yeah.
It's pretty deep in the attic. It's somewhere over in this area. It doesn't have a cover on it, so the wiring is exposed. It's inside the box, but it's exposed wiring.
Damn electrician.
Yeah.
And they left some garbage up there.
It was probably me.
I got my Klein Tools tester, the wireless tester. I'll bring it out.
Moving in further into electrical, there's a outlet box in the garage that it has a couple of steel plates over it to keep the box in the wall, but it doesn't have a cover over it to protect the outlet. So this cover right here
Oh,
is missing on one of the outlets in the garage.
I've got one of
This
those.
costs 10 cents at
Yeah.
least.
This one might take a little bit of, because there's
Is it
a
a
couple
weird
of
one?
steel strips that I think they hold
Ah.
it into the wall. I'm not sure.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Might take a little bit of finagling to make it work, but I'm sure
Yeah.
you got it in.
Yeah. Can you make a custom
The
one?
GFCI outlet on the front of the house,
Outside.
on the front porch, has power to it. However, the GFCI function of that outlet is no longer functioning.
Oh.
So a ground fault circuit interrupter,
Yeah.
are you familiar with what those
Yeah.
are? They have a life of about 125 cycles. So if you push those buttons over and over and over and over and over, it's only going to last about 100 to 125 times.
Is
Yeah,
there a
I did not
GFI
know
in
that.
that box now?
There is a GFI in the box, but the GFI
But
is
it's not
functioning.
working. Okay.
I didn't know that.
Just needs a new plug put in.
Yeah. Yeah.
An electrician, $200, DIY and
Yeah.
on YouTube, and don't do it if you don't feel comfortable.
I did it by myself.
$15.
Yeah.
It's fairly simple. It's just electricity is dangerous, so I don't recommend anyone stick their tongue in that hole.
My buddy knows me. I'll get him to do it.
Um,
I used to catch a buzz myself that way.
so now we're gonna get to current building standards. What was the build year of this house? Do we know?
94, 5.
94. Good job.
Oh, the year we got married.
So
Yeah, that was
in 1997 was
96.
when GFCI was implemented as a rule in all of the places that I'm about to explain to you. So GFCI should be present in the garage, in the kitchen, in the bathroom, in the crawl space, in the attic, and the exterior portions of the home. So prior to 1997, they said that it had to be within 6 feet of a water source. That was the only requirement for it. So in the kitchen, there is one outlet and it's hiding behind the coffee maker that is not GFCI protected. So when this home was built, it wasn't required. Today's standards require it. And in fact, next year we will say today's standards require it in every inch of the house. But
Oh my God.
That's a whole different story. Yeah.
Wow.
Next year they're upping the code again to include the entire home.
Just think what we're going to have to go through to solve
You're not going to
this.
have to do that unless you're upgrading electrical in the entire home.
Yeah, he's thinking about our house that we
currently,
have to
yes.
eventually sell.
We
Yeah.
have different.
So
My house is a
that's another
museum
one
of
where
electricity.
You can get through with it. Works just fine, but it isn't GFCI protected.
Yeah.
Especially in a kitchen, I always recommend that every outlet in the kitchen be GFCI.
Okay.
Cool.
This one is protected, even though it doesn't look like it. It's protected by that one
Yeah.
over there. So
Same
a
circuit.
single GFCI can protect up to 7 outlets downstream.
Yep.
All right.
That's where our kitchen is now. Right.
Any questions so far?
No. I have a question. Can you put a timer on a hot tub with 220 volt
Yes.
intake that
As
turns
long as
itself?
As long as you don't single leg it.
Okay.
Do you understand what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Okay. You
Yeah,
have to have
because I was
you
gonna
have to have so you would want a relay that runs dual pole, dual throw, and then you would attach that to a low voltage timer, which would
I was wondering how to do that because
they're available for sale in a box that you can buy and just plug in.
cool. I gotta gotta get your card.
All right. Dishwasher. Everything works
All
great
right.
on the dishwasher. It's missing a wheel on one of the
Oh,
trays.
Yeah.
So and when you get the bottom tray all the way out, it drops off, and you have to pick it back up to put it
Yeah.
back into the dishwasher.
Just be aware.
Yep. Water heater and the furnace are both in the garage. They don't have a impact prevention device attached to them. This was
Like a pipe in the,
usually it's a ballard, yeah, a pipe in the ground, something to keep you from hitting the
Tipping
gas
it.
instead of the brake
Oh, from
And-
your car.
and driving your car.
Oh,
I wouldn't
yeah.
even have thought about that.
Yeah.
Think of Dan Smith with his tennis ball. My dad had a tennis
Oh,
ball.
yeah.
Yeah,
My
I
dad had
did
those
that
too.
too.
To
So
tell
anything
him when to
hit-
stop.
It hit the window. right
Yeah,
in front
yeah,
of you.
yeah.
So some other things that are going on out there. A sediment trap. There isn't a sediment trap in the gas line that feeds those.
Sediment trap.
This is a very minimal item. Basically, it's just a drop leg
Yeah.
in the pipe prior to the valve, so that if there's any sediment, which occasionally natural gas carries rust and sand and things in with it, those will fall into that trap before they go into the appliance and cause it to get obstructed.
Cool.
Um,
We don't have that. We have the earthquake seismic
It's there.
cutoff. It has
Yeah,
yeah,
right,
it's up.
okay.
your TPR drain line. So TPR stands for temperature pressure relief. This is the most important part of your water heater.
And it goes outside.
Well, in yours it just goes into the garage, which is acceptable in snow.
Okay.
Yeah, it's supposed to go outside.
Well, depends on the county you live in.
Yeah,
But,
ours goes under the stairs and,
yeah.
and out the back.
So there are some specific requirements
Pressure
to it. It
release
should
valve.
be a 3/4 inch rigid line all the way through. It should be terminate between as close to 6 inches as possible without being less than 6 inches to the floor. This one has a flexible piece of pipe in it.
Yeah,
oh, really?
Yeah, they often do it because it's easier to make flexible pipe get lined
Yeah.
up in the perfect spot.
PC or
The
something.
problem with that is that when that fails, it's a safety device. You should never see it do anything.
Sure.
If it is doing something, then you're going to need a new water heater. If it weren't there, there's potential that your water heater would be a bomb.
Yeah.
Or you're gonna get
Because-
scalded.
Oh,
if it
yeah.
goes off.
Or you're going to get scolded. So that's the concern with it being flexible. There's potential that there would be 400 psi, 400 degree water or steam coming out of that pipe in the event of a severe failure. That flexible pipe at that point could move
Could shoot it off.
and could shoot it off in other directions, possibly scalding
Yeah,
you.
that's what
It
tennis
is
was
raised
saying.
up a little bit too high off the ground. It's about 15 to 20 inches off the ground right now, which would mean that scalding hot steam
Where,
isn't escaping.
where's the flex coming out over
The
that
flex
box?
is right at the top. I can show you a
Oh, it's
picture
at the
of
top, huh?
it. Yeah. It's from there to there is the flex.
I'll be damned, yep.
Yeah, so like washer dryers, they
Do
usually
you
have
want
this.
to look, Doug?
Um,
Picture?
sure.
Stand-
It's just a piece of flex from there to there. That's the part that
Yeah.
needs to be
So
replaced.
it
Yeah.
needs 3/4 inch
Three-quarter
copper
inch
running
copper.
all the way
You know,
down.
if you have a washer dryer, this is like not this house I'm referring to, but my own. Okay, we have you have a gas line coming down and it has a flex line going to the dryer.
That's acceptable.
Okay, and it goes down to about maybe 2 feet off the ground. Then it goes to the flex and it goes kind of loops back to the dryer. That is normal, right?
That's yeah.
Okay.
Any gas. This is water line. This isn't gas line.
Yeah, I'm just
Gas
talking
line
about
can
for.
be flex all the way through your house.
Oh, but for the water heater, yeah. So that hat can't be flex.
on the drain line.
On the drain.
Oh, on the drain.
The emergency drain line.
Oh, ours isn't, but okay.
Oh,
I'm just like taking notes mentally, so.
No problem. The sink in the bar
It's hooked up.
is inoperable. Looks like everything might be close, but nothing's working right this second. So we're all on page with that. Hallway bathroom. Was it the hallway?
Yeah.
it was the
Yeah.
hallway. Hallway bathroom has a leak under the left-hand sink. Looks like the drain components just need to be tightened up. It may not be leaking now because
What, the P-trap?
the P-trap.
Mm.
Yeah, I couldn't isolate exactly where it's coming from, but I gave it a spin and I got maybe 1/8 of a turn on the P-trap. So it may not be leaking.
When
at
he
all
ran the
now,
water
but it
for a
was.
while, there was a
Yeah,
puddle
and
there.
there's a-
Yeah, I was
Okay.
watching at that point.
Bathtub in the hallway drains incredibly slow.
Mhm.
Probably just needs the P-trap to be cleaned out, which is Drano.
Yeah.
Or a snake if you want to go that route. But with the plumbing in this house, you could easily put Drano down it without any damage. Don't allow Drano to sit in the basin. of the
CLRs
tub.
do it.
So if you are going to use Drano, pour it, never let it pool in the tub basin because it will destroy.
Ever use CLR for your?
CLR, I've never used CLR inside of a pipe.
I used it on my toilet.
On the
Um,
inside?
You know,
To
the,
get
the vent hole, you just drop it in there and let it sit for an hour, and then it cleans up the rust inside of the porcelain. And at the same time, it when it settles into the pipe, it cleans up any other clog.
Interesting.
Yeah, it's like
I've never.
little
never-
homemaker tip there. I'm a CLR. I tried all these drain solutions, and I just came up with that. Works.
Same bathroom. The tub spout where it comes out the wall doesn't have a caulk seal around it. It's not a huge deal. It's not leaking or anything.
Yeah.
But water that runs down that wall could find its way behind and into the wall cavity. So
Yeah.
a beaded caulk around there. Whenever you do put a beaded caulk around there, you only put it 90% of the way around. You leave a small gap at the bottom so that in the event that water does find its way in there, it has a place to escape on this side of the wall instead of forcing the water on the back side of the wall.
Was that in the spout or the diverter?
That's where the tub spout attaches to the wall. And there'll be a picture in the report. All right. Fireplace. Fireplace looks good. Chimney looks good. There is some cracking in the back wall and in the floor. They're minimal. I wouldn't say they're anything to be concerned about. There is a steel wall, a double wall steel enclosure on the back side of the fire brick. So it's not as though you're going to have a fire happen. What you can do is there's fire mastic. Comes in a caulking tube. You can get it at a fireplace store or Home Depot, and you can just caulk those. That will seal them from any further issues happening.
That comes from tossing logs in there.
Yeah,
Probably.
that and when you get a good fire going, and these types of fireplaces are
expand.
not built for big fires.
That's an
They're
insert.
mostly
There's
built
a
for
what is a sheet metal insert, double wall, triple wall thing behind it. And
Behind it, yes.
Yeah, I built one.
Yeah.
A long time
There's,
ago.
there's gas in there too.
Yes.
If they want to put an
Oh, there is?
insert, right?
Okay.
There's a log
Just
lighter in
like
there.
a- Put the fake lock in there. and
Yeah,
then-
you can convert it to full natural gas and just I think that's more
Okay,
energy. That's what they do nowadays. If the line's there, it's
I'm
easy.
jealous of your wood shop.
Want to buy some tools?
Don't say that to me. All right. In the garage, some minor cracking in the floor, concrete cracks. That's really the gist of what I'm saying.
Guaranteed.
If you don't give concrete concrete can't go more than about 3 feet without a fissure or a place. for
Yeah.
it
You
to-
mean you can't have
to
a flat piece of
You
concrete?
can't just make this entire floor flat concrete, which is what they do when they make a slab.
Right.
Yeah.
Is there's no breaks in it. If you don't give concrete a place to crack, it will make
Right.
its own.
Yep. Yeah.
Garages, driveways, they almost always have 8 to 10 foot slabs by 6 to 12 foot slabs.
Yeah.
And
Expansion
there's-
joints.
And there's
Yeah.
almost always a crack right through the middle of that.
And if
slab.
you're in a cold climate, you gotta have a little felt
Yes.
expansion joint.
Expansion at the garage space. Anyhow, so there's some small cracks. None of them appear to be anything to be concerned about. They are expansion cracks. If there were any separation or deviation, then we would be concerned, but there's not. It's
Yeah.
still a smooth surface. All right. The occupant door between the garage and the house.
Oh,
This is part of your fire prevention
Yeah.
safety envelope. So the sheetrock of the garage is made out of a type X sheetrock. It gives you a 20 to 30 minute fire resistance. So should a fire happen in your garage, it's not going to penetrate through the wall for 20 to 30 minutes. The other part of that is that door also has to be fire rated, weather insulated, and self-closing, self-latching.
I pulled the pin on the spring when I was going in and out.
So
It has spring hinges on it.
I run into this every day. Something as small as putting a toe cake at the bottom, you know, so you can keep the door open with that, it is a fire violation. So this one, the spring doesn't work. Either needs the pin put back in it or a new hinge put in its place to make it self-close. The test for that is you open the door to 90 degrees, let go of it, it should close itself and latch. Not just close, but latch. So again, this is only an issue if it's an issue to you.
Mm-hmm.
All right, in the garage, there is a little bit of sign of life. There's a small crack that goes across the top of the ceiling. It's just a hairline crack. Settlement.
No roots coming through.
No roots coming through the ceiling. No.
I like my tool shed.
It's just life.
So, yeah.
You mean age?
Age. Homes are a living, breathing thing. They move. They have a life. Again, you know, it's something to monitor. Personally, I would probably just caulk it and paint it, and you'll probably never see it again. But should it ever start to open and close, that'll be a big indicator to you that there's something else happening. I saw no other indications of the problem. So.
You have some special adhesive paints and caulks that would do the job pretty well.
Good coat of latex on there.
Yeah.
All right.
Expansion joints.
The air conditioner on the outside just needs to be cleaned up around it. It's got leaves and some soil that have built up.
There's no heat pump. How old is the
How old
AC?
is the AC? You can ask me a question like that right now. I
The
think
paperwork was sitting out there by the furnace,
I didn't see it.
and the furnace and the
But I can-
condenser were put in at the same time,
2009-ish, I think.
somewhere around there.
Give me 1 second, I can get you the number.
And they were just checked 5 months ago, 6 months ago.
Yeah.
A capacitor went out in the furnace, and the HVAC guy came out and repaired that and checked both units.
Mm-hmm.
So they were
Okay.
working fine.
Did you ever think about getting a heat pump?
No, we don't see them that much around here, but
Yeah.
we're starting to.
They're definitely becoming more popular.
Yeah.
Save a lot of energy, I guess.
2009.
I don't know. Yeah, are they now required?
Heat pumps?
Yeah.
No.
No, I thought they were going to require them.
Not yet.
Yeah, my brother's
Heat
got
pumps
one.
have good and bad to them.
Yeah, what do you think?
Heat pumps work well over the long term. They're energy efficient. The downside to a heat pump is it needs time to work. Where a gas furnace, I want it to be hot in here and I'm freezing, or I just woke up and realized that we forgot to turn the heat up, and the house is so cold that I can't walk through it. I can turn on my furnace and 10 minutes from now I can feel heat coming out of the vents. Where your heat pump isn't going to instantly put out 140 degrees out of the vent. It's going to put out 70 and then 72, and it's slowly, because it's exchanging the heat with the exterior. It's basically taking an air conditioner and running it in reverse.
That's right.
So it's a longer process. A lot of people have a hard time with a heat pump because they expect instant gratification.
Yeah.
And they don't realize that you have to run it all the time.
No, that's why you get the little electric floor heaters that cost $60.
The heat pump needs to function on the long run. So if you have a heat pump, you need
You
to
wanna get
realize that
warm.
it's going to run 16 hours a day.
Yeah.
And a lot of people can't process that and realize
Yeah.
that it's only using 1/10 of the electricity.
Are they noisy?
It's
No.
just like your air conditioner running. It still has a fan that blows, does everything the same.
Yeah.
All right. Let me see if I got anything else to talk about.
Good to know.
So that thing works? The window?
Yeah, it works great. The reason that is in here is because summers ago, middle of 105-degree weekend, something went wrong with the AC. I couldn't get anybody to come out and look at it. I went down to Friedman's and bought that, plugged it in. Close these two doors, close that door. You sit right here, it's beautifully cold.
Mm-hmm.
I had to do that for 3 days before I could get somebody to fix the system.
Oh,
They fixed the system. I just left the thing there because once in a while I'll use it during the summer.
yeah.
Close the doors off, sit here and watch a football game, no reason to cool the whole house.
That's right. Right.
but it will come right out of there too. It's not like
Mhm.
it's permanently.
Yeah, I can tell. Yeah.
Okay.
Cool.
Windows. Windows are all original. A few
Yeah.
of them are missing screens. This entire room being one of those, and the bedroom, the two smaller bedrooms. The front two of the three windows in the front have condensation.
In this big room here or in the office?
In the living room.
Okay.
Yeah.
They have condensation.
So condensation gets between those window panes. So when the
Yeah.
window panes are made, they actually assemble the two panes of glass with a rubber seal in a vacuum.
Yep.
So there's nothing inside those, or as little as possible as we can make inside those two panes of glass. Then they seal them, and then they assemble the window around it and put it in the home.
You can't fix those. though,
That seal has one little glued together seam in the bottom of it.
Rubber.
And it's
Yeah.
made out of rubber.
Yeah.
So the sun and the moon come and go, hot and cold, year after year. Eventually, that rubber starts to get a little bit brittle, and oftentimes what will happen is it'll just open up and it'll allow a minute air leak. And because there's a vacuum, it's going to suck air into it. Usually, as soon as the air pressure equalizes, that leak seals right back up and it traps that little bit of air inside. That
Like the house at Madrid.
that trapped air.
They're practically
Has moisture with
every
it.
one of them.
And then the sun and the moon do their thing again, and they cause that water to evaporate and evaporate and condensate, which can leave a haze on the windows. These ones are currently in the early stages of that, where there's actually still moisture that you can see, so it looks like condensation on the inside.
Is there a way to drive the moisture out with
There is
like
no way to drive the
WD?
moisture out. You can have it repaired. What they will do is they will remove the pane of glass, take it to the factory, remove the seal, reseal it, and put it back in.
That's what I hear.
It's costly.
Yeah.
Probably cheaper to get a whole new window or.
Well, I've been told it's comparably priced.
Mhm.
So
Yeah.
depending on how much you love that specific window, if you can have it fixed. That's my point.
Yeah, one way or the other.
One way or the other, you can
Anderson
have it
makes
fixed.
has a solution for you.
Retrofit windows are pretty cheap and easy these days.
Yeah, in fact, they come in all different styles. You can get
Oh yeah.
a lot of inserts and stuff.
Okay.
Yeah,
So moving
yeah.
on.
We live in a 100-year-old house that has cracked wooden sash windows that work.
Mhm.
Some work, some don't. But it is single pane. It's water glass, 100-year-old glass.
Please don't ever get rid of it because it's
True divided light type stuff.
beautiful.
I think the ones even with the cracks in it have character.
They do. Like I said, I have an 1880s, so
You know what I'm talking about.
refuse to change them.
I told the window guy that if I ever take that window, if I ever bring it in, I want the glass,
Yeah.
for
something.
using projects.
Yeah.
When I remodeled my house, it's over 100 years old.
Yeah.
In some of my largest homes. And because, so they have, we have to do Title 24.
Mhm.
So there's, you gotta change the windows. And then we went to like a historical review and they said, you have to have wood windows,
You
same
have to
style,
Really?
match.
style, yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, there's a place in Emeryville that does that.
It was
They build them
expensive.
custom, but they look exactly like they have the sash in their exact frames,
Yeah.
but they use a spring inside instead of the pulleys.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I saved all the pulleys, heavy.
Yeah. Mine has the pulleys. I re-roped it just like right before the pandemic.
Okay. So
Easy to fix. I love it. Yeah.
That window where there's a little bit of damage on the outside, there's also a little bit of damage on the inside.
Mm.
I looked at it with the infrared. It's dry. There's no moisture present currently, but there has been moisture there. Now, windowsill damage can be caused by windows being left open. They can be caused by failures in the seal of the exterior of the home. There's no way for us to actually tell, other than the fact that there is some damage there. It's not huge, but
Just water
but
damage. Or?
it may be due to that, that strip just on the
Yeah.
other side of that sill is deteriorated. So there may be moisture getting in through there.
Yeah.
So might be all tied together. Might have been just that somebody left the window open a couple times and it got wet. So,
Yeah.
crawl space. So this is the area that
Big.
you're most concerned
Yeah.
about. The crawl space is
Small.
in standing water currently.
Oh, yeah.
There
yeah,
is a
that's right.
significant amount of water in the crawl space that isn't escaping. Now, we've had a lot of rain.
Yeah.
It's not out of the question for there to be water. Every home around here has gotten water intrusion into their crawl space. The crawl space of a home is generally 6 to 8 inches below the exterior grade. So it is the lowest point where water is going to pool.
Yeah.
In there's evidence of probably 6 inches of water at some point in time, just from the water line that's left on the foundation walls. It doesn't appear to have ever made contact with the wood. Again, I'm sorry for upsetting the guy that was here earlier.
Frank.
Frank.
Arf, yeah.
He wanted me to make some changes to the way I do things that would have made me have to tell you that I can't take responsibility if I miss something,
Yeah.
and I don't want to have to do that.
No, you're pretty thorough. Frank takes pride in his work too.
And that's great. I do as well, and that's why I just had to tell him, you're more than welcome to look at whatever you want, but I have to do what I have to do in the way that I have to do.
Yeah.
And I was trying to not have a downpour come down on top of me while I was
Yeah. We haven't had a rain event like this winter ever
No.
that I remember.
It's been pretty serious. So as far as the sump pumps operation,
Yeah, what's up with
we've
it?
been
Why
told
not?
that it does work. It didn't work while I'm here, and we have standing water.
The only
So
time
that-
they don't work is when they're supposed to. When it's actual water in there.
Yeah, well,
because-
that's the only time that it should work is when there's actual water getting in there.
Yeah,
So that could
something to
be
do with
one of a
electricity
few things.
seeking your ground.
The basin could
Yeah.
be full of sand. The pump itself could have failed. There is power to it, so
Are you sure?
yes.
Right up to the.
Well,
Right up to
I'm
the
sure
pump.
there's power to the outlet that's feeding power to the sump. So
Yeah.
that's as close as we can get to it.
There's no GFI in between.
The GFI
Yes,
is in the
there
wall.
is.
Okay.
Just for my own, I heard the damn thing run this morning.
Yeah,
So,
I think I
Evidently,
heard
it's
it.
in the wrong location.
Yeah.
But
So,
Yeah.
and like I was explaining to you guys earlier, in the way that soil works, the lowest point doesn't necessarily have to be the lowest point on the surface. You just need that pump to be lower than the lowest point, because the water will saturate and find its way to it.
Yeah.
Um,
Can you dig it?
you can dig trenches if
yeah.
you want to, sure.
Yeah.
You're dealing with a crawl space that is only about this tall.
I've seen people put in PCV pipes that kind of lead out to, on hills. They lead a PCV pipe out of their crawl space that's below the soil level, and it just has holes in the top, and it kind of like a French
Like a
drain.
French drain of
Yeah.
sorts.
But then drains out to the, if it's on the right pitch, it can drain to the street.
You would probably have the city talking to you about that.
Yeah, they do it in our neighborhood.
So, my only recommendation would be, the problem you have is that it's deep in water down there. You're not going to get to it right now to
Yeah.
be able to do anything with it. Getting the water out would be the first move. Letting it dry out a little bit. Vapor barrier is nice. I noticed that he was recommending a vapor barrier. If you have a sump pump that works properly, you don't need a vapor barrier.
Okay.
Because the sump pump is going to eject the water faster than the vapor barrier is ever going to do anything with it. What a vapor barrier does is when you do have standing water, that water eventually is going to evaporate, and that condensation is going to make the underside of the house humid.
Yeah.
That humidity will attach to the structural members of the flooring and can lead to decomposition of the wood.
Yep.
Does the vapor barrier go on the
vapor
wood?
barrier goes on the
Yeah.
floor, right on the dirt.
Right.
So that as moisture comes up through the dirt,
It
it
just.
hits the
Yeah.
hits the plastic and has to go back in the dirt
Yeah.
until it works its way back out.
I use main sails of sailboats under my house.
Interesting.
Yeah. Well, I just happen to have a few spares. You can pick them up over at the marina. People are always getting old sails. They're just cheap,
Yeah.
they work. But I don't like getting my knees dirty when I walk under my house.
Any questions?
I don't have much, except Richard said that the sump pump's relatively new, and therefore you know, what do you think the real problem is? I mean, off the record.
Well, the real problem is probably the amount of rain that we've gotten.
Yeah.
And
People are getting water coming,
water
leaking,
is-
weeping through the walls of their
Just-
crawl space now.
Between you and me, not to bring up any sore subjects, I've watched some of these houses being built.
Like
They
this
did
one?
They did not excavate dirt out of here. Underneath
Oh, no,
this
no,
house.
I'm not saying they
Well, you
would have
were-
ever done that. I'm saying that they would have had to bring in topsoil. If this is all clay, they had to bring in topsoil.
In the yards,
Yeah.
not under the house.
Well, when they're doing that, they're gonna do soil mixing.
Nope. Didn't do any of it. I'm just telling you the way it was. Maybe it was wrong.
Tell it like it is,
I'm
brother.
not the one to argue with
No,
you,
I'm
Tommy.
not arguing. I'm just telling
No.
you what I visually saw.
Yeah.
Gotcha.
The house across the street, they did the same system, and their tractors, the drilling rigs for the caissons, were so packed with mud and adobe. They had this whole street covered in adobe, trying to get their vehicles clean. And that's the way they did it. They didn't mix any dirt, didn't.
They just lay the topsoil on top in the yard.
And